Throughout history, hope has been the force that carries people through impossible odds. Without it, even the strongest fail. This season, the Baltimore Ravens began with hope, Super Bowl favorites, a complete roster, a city ready. And then everything unraveled. Injuries mounted, leads vanished, confidence cracked. And when Lamar Jackson went down, the Ravens lost their MVP and their identity. 1 win, 5 losses, a season spiraling out of control. The questions grew louder about the coach, about the culture, about whether this team had the mental strength to survive. Then Lamar returned, and with him, belief. 5 straight victories, from buried to breathing again. And then disaster struck once more. Lamar injured again, a must-win, a loss, and hope gone. But this team refused to disappear. And when no one believed, hope answered back. Now it comes down to one game, one rivalry, one season. For one team, the end. For the other, a new beginning. I'm Rob Love. This is One Flock. Time to fly.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Ooh. Hard to believe we're here. Hard to believe we're here and talking about playoff potential in the last week of the season. A season where hope was gone, but it is back. It is back. And One Flock, we are here to talk about it. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not just another game. You guys know that already. This is not just another rivalry, not just another marquee matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens in this storied rivalry that has gone on for decades. This is win or go home. This is AFC North on the line. This is a home playoff game on the line. This is, for a lot of people, jobs, legacies, futures. Harbaugh, Tomlin, these guys are feeling pressure, as they should. And what this game means, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, pressure. DeAndre Hopkins at the end of a career. Derrick Henry, the latter part of a career. Legacies. TJ Watt. These guys. This is what you live for if you're in the NFL. If you're in that world, there's nothing bigger than a game with this much on the line in Week 18 between storied franchises with all generational type players on both sides of the field. And we're privileged to be a part of it this week. Of course, at the end of this whole thing, somebody's going to be happy and somebody is going to be very, very, very unhappy. We're hoping One Flock, that's not us. But man, what can we expect from this game? Because again, expectations is everything at this point. Expectations have been all over the place. At one point, we expected the Baltimore Ravens to be Super Bowl champions. And at another point, we expected them to be sitting home during the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers, at one point, they expected to be strong in the playoffs. At another point, those expectations fell flat. What can we expect? Well, before we break it all down, and we're going to break it all down, just a quick note before we get into all that. Today's episode is sponsored by AG1. I use it daily. One scoop, and it's done. It helps me with energy. It helps me with feeling better, my recovery, consistency. Link is in the description if you want to try it out. Thank you, AG1, for sponsoring today's show. Really appreciate that. Now, let's get on into this, because the latest injury reports about who's in and who's out are going to have some direct bearings on this game. And not just the injury report. As we all know, previously reported, DK Metcalf, the number one wideout, Aaron Rodgers' top target, and it's not even close how many balls DK Metcalf has caught during the course of the season versus the rest of the team. It's almost 50-50, him by himself. He's got as many receiving yards as the rest of the team. He is missing from this game, and we kind of saw last week as Aaron Rodgers struggled to move the ball throughout that game. In fact, ended up with absolutely no touchdowns in that game because DK Metcalf wasn't there. Of course, Calvin Austin wasn't there. He also lost another wide receiver in that game with a broken arm who's not going to be playing. So even if Calvin Austin is able to come back, the question remains, who does Aaron Rodgers have to throw the ball to? This is a major concern, and for a secondary, speaking of the Ravens, that has struggled recently in giving up big plays to talented quarterbacks when they're allowed to sit in the pocket, which has been an ongoing problem, not being able to generate a pass rush for the Ravens. This is good news for that Ravens secondary because DK Metcalf had his lunch, dinner, midnight snack, and anything else that he wanted the last time we played Pittsburgh in that loss. His absence should help alleviate some of the concern about us getting beat by obviously well-talented, extremely smart, seasoned quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, simply because his limited utensils that he has to work with. Not to call these players utensils, but when we're talking about wide receivers, they're a tool for a quarterback with those types of skills. He can only use what he's given, and that weighs in the Ravens' favor. But they aren't the only ones missing a wide receiver that's key in their offense. The Baltimore Ravens found out that Rashad Bateman, the number 2 on our team, is going to be out for this game. Apparently, he's been battling with some sort of sickness, illness all week long. There was some hope that maybe he'd be able to come back. Finally, yesterday, he was ruled out. Rashad Bateman will not be in this game. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're probably going to see some more DeAndre Hopkins. Do I think that's a bad thing? Absolutely not. Give me all the DeAndre Hopkins you want to give me. That guy right there, special. And with Lamar Jackson, and this is probably the biggest part of the availability of the health report that we got this week, the latest injury news, Lamar Jackson logged, for the first time in a while, a full week of practice. He said he's feeling a lot better. He's wearing extra padding over that back area where he suffered that contusion. He's been getting a lot of treatment. The hamstring, no mention of it. So it must be feeling a lot better than it has. And we hope that's the case, because if Lamar Jackson is feeling anywhere near 85%, then that opens up the playbook in a way that we haven't been able to see it opened up in some time. And we'll talk about more what the game plan should be later. But right now, let's just let it suffice to say Lamar Jackson logging a full week of practice, not appearing on the injury report at all, and out of his own mouth, feeling great. That there's no better news for the Baltimore Ravens than that right there. So Rashad Bateman will be missed, but we have wide receivers that can come in and fill that hole. We have tight ends that are great receivers. We have backs that can catch out of the backfield. Lots of tools for our all-pro, all-star, all-time talent at quarterback to use. Unlike across the other side, the field there, Aaron Rodgers does not have that stable to work with. That's advantage Ravens, which is why I think even though we're on the road, this should weigh heavily in our favor. But whether this team can actually make a Super Bowl run if they get in is something that also is affected by this injury report. Because if Lamar Jackson was not near being really ready to make that grueling run where everybody's throwing everything at you, it's desperation ball, everything's bigger, faster, harder, everybody's hitting harder, right? Tackling harder. If Lamar Jackson was still 50%, 60%, then that wouldn't bode well for even if we win today, which I believe we will. We'll get to that later. It wouldn't bode well for a good run in the playoffs. We'll see as the game unfolds if this was just media speak or if he actually is feeling like more of himself. I'm here to tell you, if he is, watch out. Watch out. Derrick Henry, we saw him last week. We know what that is. We have seen when those two in tandem are torturing defenses. We've seen what that looks like. Now, that does bring to mind the offensive line, of course. The offensive line, these were the same offensive line members that have looked decrepit all season. Why did they look different last week? Did you notice? They looked much better last week. This is what I've been talking about all year long. It was because of the scheme. It was because of the play calling. It was because since Lamar Jackson wasn't in there, the coaching staff, the offensive coaching staff, Monken and company, were forced to look at their playbook and scheme around their fallacies on the offensive line and the limitations of what they were seeing that Snoop Huntley could do. Why did they have to wait until Snoop Huntley came in to do that type of offensive scheming? Let me explain what I'm talking about. One of the biggest problems that we've seen with the Ravens is that they can't pass block well. And so these deep routes that Monken would call that allow these deep routes that Monken would call that require your offensive line to hold the defenders back and allow time for the routes to develop so Lamar can deliver the ball, they weren't working. So Lamar was taking a lot of sacks. Nobody was open. There were no quick pass deliveries that could go right over the top. None of that was there. Because it wasn't, the offense stifled. When they didn't think they had a deep ball threat, because Snoop Huntley is not Lamar Jackson. He's not a guy that can torch you deep down the field with pinpoint accuracy. Most of his passes last week were 10 yards or less, I believe. There may have been one that was a little bit more than that, but they used their players to their skills. They acted like they understood that this game is a game of chess, not checkers. This isn't the game where you say, oh, this is my king. I'm just going to keep moving it because it's the strongest figure. No. You have to use strategy. You have to take in the fact, okay, I can win a game by skillfully using my weakest players. If my O-line is weak, I can change my strategy and use them in a way that allows me to still be dominant. We have a weak offensive line, so game plan around that. I promise you the defense is. I promise you Tomlin and those guys on the other side are game planning around our decrepit offensive line play in pass protection. It's more important for you to know your weaknesses than it is for the other guy. Because if you know your own weaknesses, you should be able to protect them, move to where you don't expose yourself. And we saw that last week. I believe if you see that again this week, with this healthy Lamar Jackson, with the injury report that we saw, and with this other thing that appeared on the injury report, TJ Watt is making an appearance, his first game back since having surgery to repair that punctured lung. TJ Watt is a guy everyone in the NFL has feared for years, and with good reason. He is one of the most, terrifying guys off the edge. He has ruled in the backfield for years. Will he be able to do that today? I can tell you this. I've never had a punctured lung. I've had respiratory issues. I know what it's like to have lung issues from some sort of irritation, bronchitis, asthma, right? Cold, pneumonia. Coming off a punctured lung, I know the capacity of that healing lung is something that takes time. They got breathing machines they put you on, all this sort of thing. And if you can't get your wind, I'm sorry, you can't do anything like you want to do it, because oxygen is the most important ingredient to any muscle you are using. I don't know if TJ Watt is going to be the TJ Watt that we're used to seeing. I hope he isn't, because if he is, then obviously our offensive line is no match for that guy. But I don't really know. I guess we'll find out. It's kind of like, he's playing, but what version of him are we going to get? You wouldn't really expect for TJ Watt to sit this one out if he thought he could play at any level, really. And that may be what we see today. Personally, I don't think you get anywhere near 100% TJ Watt. That being said, a 70% TJ Watt is still a lot better than a 100% Falele. Did I say that out loud? I did. Anyhow, we speak the truth here, One Flock. Let's keep it going. Falele, though, keep doing well what you've been doing well the last 2 weeks, because we need you and Voorhees, because you are part of this team, to get better and continue to play better. Know your own weaknesses. Turn your weaknesses into strengths. You are all we have at your position. So, execute. That's my message to you. Now, we're going to keep moving with this because the injury report aside, we understand. While we talk about big names like Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, TJ Watt, this is not about the names. This game isn't going to come down. We're not going to win because we got more big names. That's why I get tired of these guys that sit up here and talk about, the Ravens have this many Pro Bowlers. They this, that, and the other. Shut up. It's not about the names. Winning in this league has always been about who can execute under pressure. And the teams that can execute best under pressure historically have been the teams that are the better coached teams. End of story. The teams that have the best leadership, the best coaching, are the most poised, and those who execute best under pressure. And this game is fraught with pressure. So much pressure, because the consequences. We're not just talking about playoffs. Whether you get to go to the playoffs, that's big enough on its own. We're talking about situations where storied names, it doesn't get much bigger than Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. These guys both Super Bowl winners, might be longest tenured coaches in the league, along with Andy Reid. These are big time coaches. And there's a lot on the line. We've seen this movie before. We've seen Harbaugh get under pressure and suddenly forget everything he knew that worked so well for the Ravens before. Abandon all the winning strategies, abandon all the winning schemes, and suddenly act like he doesn't know how he had the number one scoring offense in the league. I've heard people say this week after the Derrick Henry game last week where we used him effectively. Over 200 yards rushing for Derrick Henry. I've heard people say we need to live by the run in this game. I only agree with that sentiment under one circumstance. And that is if that is what the game calls for. If Derrick Henry is punishing the Steelers, you stick with it. We've heard it over and over again. Give what the defense allows you to give. Take what they give you. I hate this mindset where we come in like we're some sort of unintelligent creatures we can't use our mind to adjust to what's going on. Lamar Jackson is one of the most efficient quarterbacks ever because he's excellent at the line making adjustments. Peyton Manning was the same way. overhaul. This coaching staff has to stop coaching off of, well, it was their time in the rotation, so that's why we took Derrick Henry. We got to stop with that. Great coaching, great execution for a coach is game planning, yes, but when the game plan needs to shift, you shift it. If the game plan is working, leave it alone. I'm not saying we need to go into this game and give Derrick Henry X amount of yards of offense, X amount of touches. I'm saying that's a great game plan. But if they're stuffing every run and that line is not able to block, you got Lamar Jackson and you got these wide receivers and you got these tight ends. Make the defense change. Play chess. Get those quick passes going over the top. Force those 8 men in the box to loosen up and have to cover these guys we got out there. And then go back to the run. Take what they give you. That's winning football. That's what coaching is. That's strategy. That's not this well, we had a rotation. We said it was his turn, so it's his turn. That's not coaching. I don't know why I did that voice. Anyhow, you guys know what I'm saying. This is what we need to do if we're going to have a chance at making a real appearance, first of all, in the playoffs. And then after that, if we're able to pull that off today, actually win. When the Ravens keep Derrick Henry central to the role that he's proven works in this offense, we win. When they use those quick passes to open up the run, when they take what the defense gives us, we win. When we don't do that, we lose. We lose. And we make it look so silly when we lose. Because everybody watching the game, like so many times this year, is going, man, that's a game they should have won. Yep. It's not about talent. It's about coaching. Now, we need to talk about something else that has crossed a line this week, something that has nothing to do with coaching, and others have weighed in on it, but you know we got to weigh in on it here because it does resonate that deeply, and it touches on what we're seeing right now, and that's this Mike Preston guy. Mike Preston posted an opinion piece masquerading as if it was some sort of insider fact. And we know what that opinion was. He was suggesting that Lamar Jackson was falling asleep at practice, staying up late, playing 2:30 a.m. video games, and demanding that practice be moved to a later time because he wanted to sleep in after being up all night playing video games. Mike Preston. He chose to write this in his Baltimore column. And that story got echoed. It got amplified. It got repeated. It got weaponized. And now all of a sudden, all these talking heads, the Nick Wrongs of the world, and are out there using this garbage, this totally unbased opinion, this irresponsible jargon that Mike Preston chose to put out there in the space to question Lamar's character. Now, you may say, well, it's freedom of speech, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. This dude's a media member. He has media credentials. And with those credentials come responsibility. Responsibility towards accurately reporting the truth. You don't get to come out and mask your opinions as if they're something else to the detriment of an athlete who is in a contract negotiation, who is a role model for a lot of people. A lot of people look up to, team members look up to, fan base looks up to. He's a face of a franchise. And you, as a local media member, choose to do that. That is trash. It's trash. I don't know this Mike Preston. I have talked to people that do. And what they have had to say about this guy is that he has a reputation, and that reputation has not ingratiated him to many. I understand why. And that's all I'm going to say about that. The one thing I will say that the Nick Wrongs of the world, who had a lot to say when this story first leaked, but as soon as the story got debunked, as soon as John Harbaugh came out and squashed that and was like, I've never seen Lamar sleep in a meeting. As soon as the players came out, was like, no, this is silly. As soon as the proof came out, Lamar, what? No. Lamar's the guy that got rid of the games in the facility. Does that sound like the dude that would be up all night playing video games when it's time to focus on football? Soon as all that got debunked, you think Nick Wrong came on television and apologized and said, you know what, I was wrong. You think Nick Wrong made it part of his job to come out and say that Mike Preston story was a bunch of garbage? Nah. No, he just, crickets. It's because it's not about giving the truth. The fact that you saw no retractions by these big media heads that tried to run with this jargon from Mike Preston, you saw no apologies, you saw no accountability, that tells you everything you need to know. This is agenda-based bullcrap. It's political, even in sports. Crazy. But here's what we're going to talk about, getting back to what's really important, the big picture right now. And I want to be perfectly clear. Today's huge. If the Ravens win today, they're in the playoffs. They host a home playoff game. Imagine that. And with the healthy Lamar, anything's possible. Everything is possible. If the Ravens lose, though, and we have to talk about this, the season ends. The questions get louder, and John Harbaugh's future becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't reactionary. This isn't overreacting by any means. This is pattern recognition. And one of those two eventualities is what we're going to be faced with in a matter of hours. Whew! Quick timeout, because preparation matters. One thing I've learned covering this team, and that is that you cannot perform at a high level without taking care of your body. If you haven't been doing it, you should. That's why I use AG1. It's 1 scoop a day. It's 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, superfoods. It supports energy. It supports recovery. It supports immunity. At a time when we all want to be supporting our immune system as much as we can, all these bugs going around now. All the things that matter when life gets hectic. And if you want to try it, there's a link in the description because they are sponsoring the show today. You'll get over $100 in free product as a first-time user. And when you support AG1, you're not just supporting your own health and your own body. You're also supporting One Flock, and you'll be glad you did. Okay, so let's get into it. It's now time for the much anticipated One Flock forecast. And that's where we give you 3 predictions for today's game. The first one, of course, being the brain pick, which is the one that we highly expect to happen, the intellectual pick, the analysis-based pick. But we also would not be a fandom if we didn't have our heart in the game and had to have a heart pick, which we will give you as well. And finally, because this is the NFL and chaos happens in this league, we have the chaos pick. Let's get it started first with the brain pick. The brain pick for this one. The Ravens are going to win in a very physical game, a game that leans on the run to control the clock. Derrick Henry has a vintage Derrick Henry performance, over 100 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson controls this offense, looking much like himself, over 100 passer rating, as we've grown accustomed over the course of his career to seeing him do. The quarterback with the highest passer rating for a career. Lamar Jackson shows up, shows who he is once again. And the Ravens win in a game where they control the clock. And old man Aaron Rodgers goes into the sunset at the close of a season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ravens win 28-17. Now, The heart pick. Not what we think, but what we feel. And you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling a little bit like Lamar's been disrespected so much this year. He's been talked about so much by these guys who are so quick to excuse other quarterbacks, Josh Allen, when they have terrible and deplorable performances and blame it all on their teammates and this and that. Joe Burrows, oh, he was hurt, but he's still great. Lamar Jackson, after nursing all these injuries behind this terrible offensive line, feeling healthy, hearing his own hometown Mike Preston just totally lie on him, Lamar Jackson gets in his feelings. And he feels some of what I'm feeling and steps on the field today and gives us a vintage Jackson 5, dominates the field, does things that we know only he can do. And the Ravens dominate 34-17 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for a little while, the haters have to shut up. That's the heart pick. But for the chaos pick, because crazy things happen in this league, and yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers did just put down a brand new turf, and we know how turf can play into some games, and we know it's going to be cold, and we know weather can play into games, and we know that wind in Pittsburgh is unpredictable, so yes, that can play into these games, and yes, I was at the last game where the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ravens played in that place with all those towels and all that noise, and it was the game of field goals where we missed 2. And lost in a close game. No one scored touchdowns for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat us by kicking 6 field goals. Chaos. In the chaos pick for this game, yes, the new turf shows up. People's cleats don't agree with it. Players make some fumbles. The defense ends up scoring as a result. Roquan Smith catches an interception and runs it in for his 2nd touchdown of the season. And the Ravens win in a very close, very chaotic, where special teams and the kicking team come up big. Ravens pay back for that loss last year where the kickers were the main players. And we beat them on a field goal. Final score, 17-14 Ravens. And that, well, I won't say it. I told you guys I was going to do this. Roll it.
Those are my 3 picks in the one flock forecast.
I liked that. Did you guys like that? I like that. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. For those of you who just showed up today, is this your first time here on the channel? Appreciate you being here. I just want to tell you, if you enjoyed this kind of breakdown, if you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button. Subscribe. If you're new, turn on the notifications so you don't miss anything we're doing in the future. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, which is one of our big goals as a new channel. And trust me, this is 2026. We got big plans in store for the year, and I'm super happy that you're here. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support. And yes, super chats are always appreciated. We do have that open now during the live shows. They keep helping this thing grow. And speaking of the live show, yes, this is the late game. Yes, this is Sunday Night Football. Yes, it will not be over till almost midnight. And yes, when the clock hits 0, we will be right here live. We definitely are not going to stop. Win or lose. No filters. Real conversation, be there when the clock hits 0. Before we get out of here, I have to say one more thing. There's one thing this world will never be too full of. You guys know what it is. It's love. I don't care who it is. You find somebody that needs a little bit more love in their life. Give it to them for them, all right? Appreciate that. For One Flock, I'm your host, Rob Love, saying thank you for flying with the brother. Let's go get this win, and I'll see you when the clock hit 0 tonight. Be there. Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
We take the field as one flock. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go, Ravens. Let's go, Ravens.